was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
He wants us to burn her.
So let's talk horror films. Horror films sometimes can be a wonderful ride. It will take you from being scared to laughing, but sometimes there'll be a bit of a roller coaster and be a fun ride. But sometimes, just sometimes, you'll have those darker movies, ones that will kind of reach into your soul and rip it out and leave you breathless with kind of like horror about what you have witnessed. And this is one of those type of films. This film is in no way a fun movie, but it will affect you. We are talking about the movie She Who Must Burn. Now this one is directed by Larry Kent, who also co-wrote this, and this will be available from Safecracker Pictures on the 15th of August on iTunes. I will leave a link in the description below, so go check it out. Now, the story here focuses on a small mining community, basically, and within this town there is a contingent of people who are super devout, basically. These are kind of the overly religious types who take things very kind of very seriously, shall we say. And on the other hand, you've got this this young couple. The man is basically a deputy with the local kind of sheriff's department, and then you have the wife who runs a kind of a clinic for family planning. So she basically helps women that are, have problems with the pregnancy, stuff like that, basically abortions, contraception, and basically gives counselling. But these kind of religious types take offence to this woman's being there, basically, and kind of want to run her out of town. And she refuses because she wants to help these kind of variety of people that are there. And this being obviously a film which deals with the kind of man's inhumanity against man. You don't need monsters, you don't need goats or anything like that, because this is horrific enough. Things that escalate into a particularly violent fashion. So that is all I will say on the plot of this movie. So like I said, if you're wanting a horror film which is kind of a bit of a roller coaster effect, like kind of like Sinister, Lights Out, that sort of thing, this won't be the film for you. But if you're kind of wanting a brutal experience, one that you'll find kind of harrowing and will emotionally affect you, this was probably going to be more the film like this. So if you kind of watch films like Hostel, but I would also say things like The Wicker Man, more of a kind of dramatic film. So I really don't call it a horror film to a certain degree. It's more of a drama, but it does have extreme horror elements in it. So let's talk about the positives and negatives of She Who Must Burn. So negatives, first of all, I will say this is an extremely slow movie. Now, it's by design, it's a slow burn, basically. It's, like I said, it's more of a drama than a horror. Detailing the characters, basically, but it does kind of end in obviously somewhat horrific ways, and there are some violence throughout the film. But I feel it will put some people off. The other thing I would say, the acting is a bit of a mixed bag. I really like the performances by some of the cast here, but on the other hand, there are a couple of ones I wouldn't say were bad, but there are a couple of kind of like not so good line deliveries here. The main woman, played by Sarah Smyth, I thought was very good, though. She's kind of your main character, who is this woman that runs the clinic, and she gives a good earnest performance here. And I have to say that I thought this is a very well directed film. This film, I feel, will definitely affect you. It's definitely a very kind of brutal and harrowing film that I feel will affect most people, because of the way it shows you the brutality that people can put upon each other, certainly in the name of religion as well. It kind of makes you very deliberately so frustrating, and it kind of also is a bit of a commentary on the kind of the mob mentality, so to speak, and how people influenced by the word of other people who they kind of just take their word for it. So it's a scary thought, because we know that in this day and age, that's very kind of a point that kind of hits home, be it anything from as small as kind of social media right up until kind of religious fanatics that we have within our world at the very moment. So it hits home, this film, and affected me deeply. So like I said, the cast I feel they're very well cast. So the people who play these fanatics basically really look the part, I've got to say. I mean, that's partly down to casting, partly down to kind of hair and makeup and all of that. But the guy, the main guy, he's kind of this smart looking guy, and he's like, on one hand he looks kind of quite smart and quite presentable, but he has this definite creepiness factor to him as well. So I kind of like that. So I thought the casting was fantastic, and even though there are a couple of I feel not quite as good performances, for the most part, I feel it pretty much works. There's the way they have integrated the music here as well. Oh, it's really good. There are a couple of like scenes here that they kind of use music with that really affect it. And I've got an ambulance going past. Apologies about that. So. Like I said, this film is not a fun movie. It's not one you're just going to pop in on a Friday night and have a couple of beers with. But this is a film, like those ones I've mentioned, that really will kind of like, whew, man, that was some tough stuff. But it is a well-made film. It's very well directed. And when we do see the scenes of violence here, let me tell you, this stuff is brutal. I mean, there's some very well done gore effects here, some very kind of realistic prosthetics, we say, and kind of things like that. So, it's a weird film to say this is a good film because it's so dark. It's such a dark film, but it is a well-made film. It's definitely one I think will affect you. Very mature, very mature. So basically a thinking man's drama horror film. I'll give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Or if you want to see it, check out the link in the description below, like I've mentioned. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.